All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So it's Combine Week, right? I am freaking excited whenever it's Combine Week. It's just like tons of news all over the place. You're getting free agent rumors. You're getting agent buzz. You're getting all 32 teams in one location. So you have all these stories kind of break throughout the week. And of course, the prospects as well, right? Who's rising, who's falling. And this one, I wanted to focus in on a handful of prospects that are, I would say, in most cases make sense for the New York Jets. Just guys to keep our eyes on, right? Prospects to watch, if you will. Before we dive into the list, though, I did want to give a special shout out to today's video sponsor, SeatGeek, the #1 rated ticketing app out there, right? Over 70,000 live events, football, basketball, baseball, concerts, you name it, it's on SeatGeek, right? If you use my code Jetscentral, you'll get $20 off your first purchase. And they have this great, I'm always talking about this aspect with SeatGeek, but the numbering system with their tickets, personally, I love, right? When numbers are graded as a green number, like an 8, 9, or 10, you know you're getting a good deal based off of price and, of course, like location in the stadium. And then if the number is a red 1 or red 2, it's probably, you're probably sitting there, you know what, I could do a little bit better than this, right? So let me keep on searching until I find a better number. So that way for me, like, you have more confidence when you're actually buying a ticket, picking one up. But anyway, thanks so much, SeatGeek, for sponsoring the video. So the first player I want to talk about here is Trey Amos, corner from Ole Miss, one of my favorite players in the entire draft class. I love a lot of corners in this class, but you look at Trey Amos. He would honestly be a fantastic fit for Aaron Glenn's defense, right? Production and press man coverage. Someone who is long, someone who is strong, someone who is, I would say, really solid against the run. He has great ball skills. He has production in the SEC, obviously with Ole Miss and Alabama. Before those two schools, he was with Louisiana. But he's just someone who, he's gritty. Again, he's tough. You feel like he doesn't shy away from contact. I love corners like that naturally. And then you factor in Aaron Glenn's defense. It's like, yeah, we're going to need players like that. We're going to need guys that are, looking to make an impact, looking to go out and make a play. And yes, of course, you can argue, okay, sometimes he gambles, he takes risks, and he gets burned. Like he's overly aggressive, which I get. Think of like a Jalen Ramsey early in his career, or even, former Jet Antonio Cromartie, someone like that. But I think from top to bottom, Trey Amos is a solid plug-and-play corner 2 immediately on the New York Jets. Immediately. Here's the catch, though, right? Right now, he's projected to go late round 1, early round 2. What's the 40 time going to look like? One of the big knocks on Trey Amos, much like Will Johnson, is straight line speed. If Trey Amos hits the combine, and in the 40, I don't want to make it out to be a big deal, but obviously corner and receiver, those are the two positions where it's like people kind of hyper fixate on those 40 times. But if you have a question about straight line speed and you put up a poor 40 time, we've seen it before. We'll see it again. Corners values drop, right? They'll start to slide down boards. And again, if you are productive in man coverage and you have issues with straight line speed, what's the confidence level of a coach at the next level where competition is stronger, smarter, and faster, putting you out on islands? Again, assuming someone were to disappoint in that 40 times. So I think the combine's going to be huge for Trey Amos. If he knocks it out of the park, if I think he gets that solid 40 time, we should see him go pretty much in every first round mock. But if not, I could see him go just kind of solidifying himself as that early day 2 pick. Next up, Matt Golden, wide receiver from Texas, someone who I feel like would slot in as the wide receiver 2 on the New York Jets, assuming Lazard and Devontae Adams are both released, which is looking likely at this point. I mean, the Jets wide receiving depth chart is very, very, very thin. Garrett Wilson, Corley, Xavier Gibson. So obviously the Jets are going to need that wide receiver 2 to take pressure off of the other guys and to also give whoever's going to be playing quarterback a solid weapon. Now, you can argue maybe Ted McMillan in the first round if he's there. I would love that pick. I mean, gosh, just super dynamic, red zone threat, huge catch radius, long, makes plays down the field. I mean, he's a really exciting player. But if the Jets want to, maybe a defensive tackle falls to the Jets, maybe they go with, whatever, another position, Will Johnson or someone else in the first round. Could we look to target a Matt Golden in the early section of round 2? A boundary receiver who I feel like would be just that. Someone who is a really good route runner, someone who makes plays down the field. He tracks the football really well. He had a lot of production for the Longhorns this past season, former Houston transfer. Now, of course, there are some problems with drops. So again, running through these combine drills, if he's out there dropping passes, that could maybe, to coaches that it's like, okay, drops were an issue this past season. We show up to the combine. Has that been worked on at all? If he's out there dropping more passes, I could see coaches maybe slotting him down a little bit, not to put too much value in a simple combine workout. Because I personally, you got to watching the game. That's games are the number one most important thing to me. Over the Senior Bowl, over Combine, over Private War, everything. Pro Day, it's the games. That's like the bulk of my kind of thought process or my opinions on the players. Watching the players in games. And then comes everything else as a smaller section of the pie. But again, if the glaring weakness for a player is on display throughout the course of a season, and then it's on display in these workouts, I could see it hurting someone's draft stock here. So I do think Matt Golden is a really interesting option. 6 foot, 195-ish. So I think he would check a lot of boxes that the Jets currently don't have. Again, boundary receiver, wide receiver 2. Takes pressure off of Garrett Wilson, opposite of Garrett, on the opposite side of the field. Someone who has the speed to shoot down the field and make plays in the deep parts of the field. I mean, when was the last time the Jets had a player like that? Robbie Anderson, probably. And it's not like Robbie Anderson's like a top 5 deep threat in football, but like it just goes to show that the Jets just don't push the ball deep at all. Or at least haven't in these last couple of seasons. I do feel like that'll change with Inkstrand, but Matt Golden is someone to watch for me. Next up is quarterback from Louisville, Tyler Shuck, and I remember when he was a high schooler coming out, commits to Oregon, had some time, started some games there, didn't really work out, transfers to Texas Tech, had some time there, didn't really work out, and then goes to Louisville. And this is someone who's dealt with a lot of injuries. But I remember him just as that prospect. It was funny. One of my buddies was actually really high on him when he initially went to Oregon because of the overall size, the stature, the arm strength. Throws such a pretty ball. He's kind of been listed as the prototype, but he's someone who's also been getting a lot of hype, a lot of buzz over the last week and a half. So if he hits the combine. And so, by the way, the reason why he's getting the buzz is because this past season at Louisville, after kind of being the forgotten guy to former schools, and again, Oregon and Texas Tech, he goes to Louisville and he's finally healthy. He puts together a solid season, not of course with with statistics, but also just being a steady force within the locker room. Tyler Shuck, to me, if he goes out there and has a solid combine performance, I feel like all of a sudden we can start seeing him as the QB5, QB4 in this upcoming class because of the natural raw tools and how the NFL looks at players like that, right? They all like the prototype, the high ceilings. And I'm also really intrigued to see how he does in the interview process as well because he's so old. How does he, is he going to be on the same level as a lot of these other college QBs that, are a lot, frankly, a lot younger than him? So, yeah, Tyler Shuck for me is interesting. Next up, Elijah Arroyo, right? Someone who, in my opinion, was the best tight end at the Senior Bowl. Someone who had a great season for Miami. Someone with a lot of, awesome physical traits. You can argue, okay, he's tight end 3, he's tight end 4, maybe tight end 5 in some people's minds, but he's definitely within that top 5. The big knock with Arroyo was injury concern and only the one season of production last year at Miami. But then to show up at the Senior Bowl and look like how he did and it just be one of the guys turning heads constantly. If he goes out there and just wrecks the combine, just like he did the Senior Bowl and the 2024 season, all of a sudden I could see Arroyo's name start to pop up more and more as that solidified tight end 3 over maybe someone like Fannin, but underneath like a Loveland or like a Tyler Warren. So I think Arroyo has a really solid opportunity here. And last but not least, one of my favorite players in the entire draft, someone who, gosh, I'm so high on. I feel like his floor is really, really high. If the Jets drafted him in round 2, he would be the plug and play right tackle immediately. It's Ozzie Trapilo from Boston College. I just feel like you know what you're going to get. You can argue, okay, has he, does he have the highest ceiling and whatnot? That's a valid point. But, the 6'7", 6'8" frame, the production in the running game, looking that quick on his feet for that size, that athletic is, to me, really, really impressive. I don't necessarily think he's going to be a first round pick. Where we're seeing Trapilo right now is anywhere from like mid round 2 to round 3. I feel like if he goes out there, has a solid, really puts the athleticism numbers out on display, matched with that size, matched with that production, he's going to shoot up boards. I really hope that he's there for the New York Jets in that second round. That's probably my number one most ideal candidate there, because you could definitely argue O-line at pick number 7, but I just don't think that there's a right tackle worth really taking at that position. Now, if the Jets maybe trade down to like the mid-teens or even to like, 11, 12, 13, you can maybe target like a Membu if you feel good about, playing him on the outside early, or even potentially Simmons from Ohio State. But, if the Jets want to go out and add, whatever pick they want to go with, right? Mason Graham, Ted McMillan, Tyler Warren, Will Johnson, they want to go out and get that impact piece in round 7, in round 1 at 7, and then come back in round 2 and go get your starting right tackle. To me, that makes so much sense. The problem is, I just don't know if he's going to be there. But if he is, I feel like that's going to be the pick there. You look at how the Jets are probably going to run this offense. It's going to be built off the running game. That's exactly what, Trapilo. I mean, you're looking at the Lions' offensive line. Big, strong, nasty, physical. That's what Trapilo is. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Of course, there's other names to watch. The quarterbacks, like Shedeur Sanders, like Cam Ward, Ted McMillan. How does he test out? But I wanted to focus in on, maybe some of the guys that aren't being talked about within the top 15 here. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Thanks so much. And as always, go Jets.